So, I don't believe I've talked about Spider-Man in a while, and Spider-Man 4 has been the talk of the town for a minute, and I owe a lot to this movie that hasn't even come out yet because that's how most of you found this channel. By the way, 92K, glad you all are here, but since late 2021 with No Way Home and that sensational ending, one that promised a closer to the comics version of Peter and Spider-Man, or should I say closer to the majority of the comics, where the popularity of this character arose, which would be realistically the college years, where Marvel really applied the sauce to the old webhead. Since then, we've all been clamoring for Spider-Man 4, and we've only had a couple of updates with Kevin Feige promising a more street-level approach. We could expect a more mature direction. Daredevil and Fist seem to be heavily rumored to play a part in it, with Michael Mondo's Scorpion being in the perfect position to reprise his role as Matt Gargan and become a fully realized Scorpion, maybe under the commission of J. Jonah and Fisk. All of this sounds spectacular, but unfortunately, there are a lot of factors that are standing in the way, or I should say pulling what could be a truly amazing film in a bunch of different unsavory directions. I just kind of wanted to let out on that. First and foremost, the unrightful owners of the live action rights to the character. Again, they're doing amazing stuff with the animated side of things. All those movies are great, but Sony can't make a live action Spider-Man movie to save its own ass, independently of Marvel Studios or Sam Raimi. Shout out to Mark Webb though. And they have an unhealthy obsession with making a Sinister Six movie. It's been, what they've been trying to do for, I would say, most of a decade. I'm assuming they think it'll be like an Avengers movie where they make individual movies about Spider-Man villains to make us, care about the villains and let Marvel worry about making us care about Peter. But again, they put out these movies and use villains that could potentially have been used by Marvel Studios but aren't, due to the fact they believe they are actually cooking, that they're actually doing something, which I'm strongly of the opinion they are skewing the direction these movies are going with Marvel Studios and the potential great stories that could be told. When in the space in which we all occupy, which would be reality, every single one of their Spider-Man adjacent universe movies has been complete and utter diarrhea, dog shit of the soul, waste of time, ass shit balls, if you will. They might have a good character model that will confuse and trick certain smooth-brained individuals into watching these films, but the adaptation of these characters is usually horrible. The movie's plot and stories just do not make any sense. They are not stupid, dumb fun, and the visuals honestly aren't even that good. Therefore, not a single justification can be made for their continued existence. And if you're planning to watch Madam Web because you're horny, I can't tell you what to do with your money, although I'd really like to in this instance, but might I posit a more fruitful endeavor? The Twitter technique, players. So for example, when the Marvels came out, and this is not me shitting on the film because I haven't seen it, they were teasing X-Men hella, okay, as an incentive to watch the film, because for the most part, they were aware that the Marvels themselves are not really going to get asses in seats. I think Nia DaCosta is a good director. I like the cast, but I just don't care enough about those characters to have gone to go see it, especially in the state that the MCU is in right now. So they baited a bit with the X-Men. We all saw the slow opacity transition with the X, so I could rightfully assume that an X-Men would appear in this film, especially with Kamala being retconned as a mutant, and now that X-Men are coming into the fray soon with Deadpool 3. And instead of going to see the movie that realistically wasn't made for me and that I had a high probability of not quite enjoying, I knew the part that I would have gone just to see would be on Twitter immediately, and I was right. So when the movie came out, I typed in the Marvels leak on Twitter, and guess what? I saw Beast, and he looked amazing, and I didn't have to sit through an hour and a half to see him and waste $80 on a ticket and pop. Okay? And I say all this to say pictures of Sydney Sweeney in the suit will be on Twitter momentarily once the Madam Web film drops, as well as the other actresses in their suits. You don't have to go to the theater just to see that. Plus, if you're that horny, just watch Euphoria, players, or go to Reddit. You don't have to waste your money and support a dogshit universe that is only degrading anything that it touches. Kraven is going to be the same thing, and it is crazy to think that Spider-Man No Way Home could have been a Kraven film. He could have been the villain, but this movie that's going to come out is just gonna suck ass. Now, I'm happy with No Way Home, but I say that just to illustrate the grip that Sony has on this character is pulling him in a world of shit and wasting potentially awesome villains and storylines and corrupting existing awesome characters like, the Vulture, putting him in fucking Morbius. I feel like Feige is trying his best to delay this, but he's having to compromise these Spider Spider-Man movies to leave openings for Spider-Man to eventually cross over to Sony's world. Now, although I feel the character's live action rights are obviously in better hands with Marvel Studios instead of fucking idiot Sony, Marvel Studios is not so innocent as well, okay? The prevailing thought right now is that the MCU is losing its touch and the movies are not hitting like they used to. I think this is 100% apparent to how Bob Iger said they are now putting quality over quantity, which I think in and of itself is a crazy statement to make. Like, you're just doing that now? Like, how is that not an immediate thing? That's what you start off doing. But because it seems that the CGI and the visuals have been extremely lackluster in most of their films, movies, you know, are a visual medium. Visuals, while not being everything, are extremely important. We are advancing in technological achievement, so there is no reason why the movies of old should look better than the movies now. The only reason I could surmise is because of the, you know, the insane schedule and output Marvel has, as well as the constant changes to maintain the overarching narrative. If you have to constantly keep making adjustments on something and not just have one thing planned that you can continuously keep refining and making better, then you will eventually have something that looks bad. Also, I think this will change with Deadpool 3 setting a precedent for shooting heavily practical, with the risk of leaks happening. With Marvel obviously being so concerned with secrecy is something that needs to be shifted, because honestly, seeing that Sabretooth is going to be in Deadpool 3, it does kind of suck to get that spoiled, but the sucky feeling won't suck as much or last as long as not seeing it, and when the movie comes out, the scene looks like shit, or it sucks also. The scene will live forever, and if it's beautiful, it will be beautiful forever, and we can revisit it forever, but if it sucks, we're not gonna want to. The getting something spoiled feeling will always fade. Marvel Studios needs to step away from the surprise factor very fast, because that is definitely handicapping the films, at the very least visually, and for a Spider-Man film, we need him to look amazing. We need ripples in the suit, we need to see textures, we need to see dynamic action and web swinging. I think they've done a good job with the emotion and getting us to care about this Peter Parker and the characters around him, but I need the visuals and action to match heavily. We need to get Alfonso Cuarón, okay, who has an extremely distinct vision to make something beautiful as well as emotional, and something that will convey the darkness that Peter will be going through in the next coming movies, internally and externally. He's the man, he has the experience, he has the vision, and although I like what John Watts has done immensely, Kevin Feige has said that they choose low-key directors that impress them, but that would be able to fit the similar aesthetic in their universe. And what that sounds like to me is they need someone without a bunch of sauce or options that wouldn't be confident just walking away if they felt they couldn't make the movie they needed to make. And this is kind of proved by what Taika Waititi has been saying recently. You know, he was just hungry for the bag, and that's why he made Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder. Although I loved Ragnarok, hate Love and Thunder. Like, I feel on the Marvel side, the post-credit scenes, the cameos, the secrecy, you need to put all of that on the back burner. We don't need to be surprised by people appearing. We don't need to be surprised by characters appearing. We need to be surprised on how the story calls for that character to be there and what that character does and their motivation. That moment of awe will fade, but depending on how good that scene the character appears in is, it will live on forever and we'll love it forever. We all can understand what a Marvel movie is and that they will connect eventually. You don't need to put Ant-Man in Spider-Man 4 for any reason. Like, if you want to get Bug Bros to happen, do that in Secret Wars or in Kang Dynasty, okay? I love Ant-Man, I love Paul Rudd, but Quantumania was just absolutely horrible, and we don't need that stink to permeate Spider-Man 4. It already has enough stuff to deal with. Ant-Man also resides in San Francisco, so there's literally no reason to do this. We don't need to connect things that bad anymore. People understand what this is, so they don't need to be as heavy-handed with their connective threading like they used to. Just get a good director and writer and worry about the connective shit later. Stop being so secretive so we can have better looking movies. I just kind of wanted to get my thoughts out on this because I haven't talked about Spider-Man in a while, and I feel like this character in this movie can really be sensational. I just feel like the time we're in with the Sony Spider-Man universe being almost complete, where they tell Marvel like, hey, it's time, we have our Sinister Six, bring his ass over here. That time is drawing near, and then Marvel Studios is in an extremely precarious spot with the quality of the films waning heavily, but we'll have to see how that'll unfold. Let me know though what you think of this Ant-Man rumor, guys, and what you want to see in Spider-Man 4 and any worries you might be having about the film in general. I know Tom Holland had said that if he feels that they can continue to do justice to the character, then he'll get on it, but I feel like even at that, he doesn't want another movie that's going to be divisive to the fans. I think he's very concerned. I think everybody else is very concerned about putting out something that is going to be hugely substantive in all regards, you know, visually and, you know, story-wise. So I'm glad that he's standing on that. That's pretty much it. If you liked the video, leave me a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you want, subscribe. I always appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope all of you guys are well, and I will see you in the next one.